Our caller, welcome to the show. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from. You're live on the air.
My name is Steve. I'm calling from Florida,
Steve, welcome.
and I'm a non-Trinitarian Christian.
Okay, very good. Thank you. What's the question for you?
And my question for Tovia is, do the Jews have a council of rabbis that will evaluate a person they think may be the Messiah, and what qualifications are they looking for?
That was an excellent question. Very good.
Yeah.
Go ahead and hang up now. You can tune in for your answer, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for your call. All right, Rabbi.
So the answer is no. The answer is no because the whole world will know. It's not just the Council of Rabbis. The answer is if you look at, see, actually, one part of your question answers the other part of your question. The theme that is repeated most frequently about an identifying feature of the Messianic age is everyone will know, not just some fancy council of rabbis with long beards. The whole world will know. If the whole world doesn't know, it's not him. He's the wrong guy. If only half the world knows, the wrong guy. If a third of the world knows, the wrong guy. Forget all that. So really, one question answers the other. Now, there were a council of sages who would evaluate if someone was a true prophet. That is. But as it turns out, Moshiach is not identified as a prophet. Maybe he will be a prophet, possibly, but in a sense, it applies it because the Spirit of Hashem will dwell in him, but it's not. He's not there speaking prophecy as an oracular prophet. We don't find that. Rather, he's giving haichacha, rebuke to the nations, and they're going to listen very carefully. And his sovereignty will be from one end to the other, from river to sea. And as a result, the world's going to change the ways. That everybody is going to listen. What did the Mashiach say? Mashiach is the Gadol Hador, the giant of the generation, who the world will understand that this Nasi, this prince, is acting on behest of Hashem, and the world will know. So it says the opposite. You don't need a council of rabbis. You don't need any of that. Everybody will know it. Why? Because it says so. This is not. I think this might be called the Tovia Singer Show. We changed it. This is a Tanakh show. This is what did the prophets say? That the prophets tell us that the knowledge of Hashem will cover the world as the water covers the sea. In Isaiah, that's Isaiah chapter 11, verse 9. The Navi tells us very clearly what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. He will rebuke the nations. And what will happen? That the people will come and say, let's go to the house of Hashem, let's go to the mountain of Hashem, to the house of the God of Jacob, that he will teach us his ways and we will go in his path. And listen to this, verse 4, and he will judge between the nations and will rebuke many people. This is what he's going to do. And people are going to listen to him. And they'll beat their swords into plowshares, their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not lift up sword against nation, neither will they learn of war anymore. A verse which you can be sure no book in the Christian Bible will ever quote, not in a million years, is Zechariah chapter 9, verse 10. That the chariots of Ephraim, and I will cut off the chariots. I will cut off the chariots of Ephraim, and the bow of war will be removed. The horses of battle will be removed, and he'll speak peace to the nations, and they're going to listen to him. His authority in one end to the other. See Daniel chapter 7, verse 14. All the nations are going to adhere to him. They're going to serve him. And don't listen to what they tell you. They're trying to tell you that they're going to worship him. It's all nonsense. It means that he will speak and the world is going to listen. You don't need, so it's to be the council of the human race. Now, of course, there will be a segment of society. There'll be two parts to them. two sections of humanity will go to war prior to the coming of Mashiach. Immediately in that Tekufa, in that epic, they'll be cut off completely. But a third part of these are talking about the non-Jews, they will be saved. This passage in Zechariah 13, verse 8 and 9 is widely misunderstood. So it won't go, oh, there's a man here who claims to be the Messiah. What does the Counsel of Rabbi say? I'll tell you a funny thing. There's here in Israel, I think they call it the Jesus syndrome. I'm not kidding. They have, there are people who come visit Israel, and here in Eretz Yisrael, it's a very holy place. It just is. You walk in Yerushalayim, your eyes dance. The air is full of holiness. Really, it's not. You just take a deep breath in. Your mind, mamish, the air of Eretz Yisrael makes you wiser. Just right. If you've not been to Israel, the kedusha, the holiness dances. It really is something, the most beautiful thing you ever saw. It's a place of tremendous sparks of holiness is everywhere. People just walk and and it's not that if you're a tourist and just landed and go lose you. I've been living here in Israel for almost 11 months. You could, it's about 11 months. Actually, it's almost exactly 11 months. Yeah. Every day I go out, I can't believe what I'm saying. Where am I going with this? There are people who are struggling with challenges, with mental challenges, and they should have a complete recovery. But there are people who suffer a little bit, and it is very common for people walking the street to think that they're Moses, or they're a prophet, or that they're Jesus. That's why I think it's called the Jesus syndrome. And they wind up in places like the Abarbanel Hospital, which is a hospital to help people who are struggling mentally. So you have all kinds of people running around here. I'm laughing. I don't mean to laugh. There are people really walking around saying they're Messiah. People are dressed like biblical figures. Not everywhere, but it's very common. The people just walking around, not hurting anybody, but they're walking around, with a stick. They're just take my word for it. They look and they watch the movies of biblical figures, so they know how to do the dress. Now, there are actually some very wonderful people who dress that way. They wear a beged ivri. They're not saying these things. So, therefore, my friends, the way we will know Mashiach is here is because events will unfold. Most important, the worldwide knowledge of Hashem. V'hoya Hashem lamelech hakol oretz, that God will be king of the whole world. He's not king now? But if a king is not accepted by all the subjects, then it's a problem. Mashiach comes, then the whole world will say, Hashem is king, and the Mashiach will be his prince. That's why he's called a Nasi, or whole under Vicheskel. Read Ezekiel 37, 24 and 25. The whole world will know, and then he will be one, his name will be one. All the nations, they're going to go back to where things were prior to the Tower of Babel, where the nations will disperse and speaking different languages. Mashiach comes, they're going to speak one pure speech. Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 9. A Beis HaMikdash, the temple we built in Yerushalayim. And then the nations will know that I am Lord, when your sanctuary will be among you. Where does it say that? Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 26 through 28, and the whole end of Yechezkel. And all this will be preceded by an event where Elijah the prophet will usher in the coming of Mashiach. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to keep his promise that all the Kindlech, all the Jewish people, all the Bnei Israel are going to return to this holy land. How is he going to do that? There are Jews who live so far away. Hashem has a promise, and the God of Israel doesn't lie. He's not a faker, and he's not a chakran. He's not a lie. Hashem is emes. And therefore, when the prophet Isaiah of blessed memory says in Isaiah 43, verse 6, I'm going to find all of you from the northland and the south. I'm going to say, give back my daughters, bring my sons from afar. I will find you from the furthest most islands, from the ends of the earth. It's happening now. It's happening now. Prepare yourself. So these events will occur. You don't need counsel of rabbis. It'll be the counsel of humanity. Everyone will get it. If everyone doesn't get it, it isn't. No one will say, oh, I know there's a resurrection dead, there's a building. Can I see your identification? I hear this from Christians, William. I don't know if you have you heard this from Christians? They say, well, how will you know when the Messiah comes from the house of David?
Right.
You ever hear that? 5,000 times. Like they say, hold on, buddy. I know everyone is now following you, and everything you say everyone's doing, and there's a temple now in Jerusalem, and there's a resurrection, the ingathering, and Elijah came. But let me see your driver's license. I want to see your passport for 1 second. I want to see you from the house of David. Mm-hmm. Saying that he's going to be from David and a fulfillment of the Davidic promises, that's not a sign. They're just telling you he's going to be from the Davidic house.
Right.
I know many people today who are from the house of David. There are hundreds of thousands of such people that are from the house of David. Not all of them could be the Messiah. It's quite a family. So that's how people know. You don't need the Counsel of Rabbis. You did need the Counsel of Rabbis, meaning you needed the Sanhedrin to decide, was Ovadia a prophet? So that they did have to do. That's a prophet. That's not Moshiach. There are criteria in the Torah, specifically Deuteronomy 13 and 18 and so on. But Mashiach, everyone's going to know. If you have to ask, then he's not Mashiach. Mm-hmm. Thank you for your question.
And it seems like that, like you said, I mean, the question kind of answered itself too. I mean, if the whole world knows, well, does every human being in the world want to see his ID? That's the question. And so that's what the whole point, it answered itself. You're right.
The point is they know.
Yeah.
It's sort of built into the system.
For example, if Jesus...
This is why, go ahead, what's that?
Okay, so like, for example, when Jesus came, if at that time the whole world knew that he was a Messiah, then there wouldn't be a big deal about his identity because the whole world would know, but the whole world didn't know.
Yeah. Now, it's funny you say that. That was very intelligent, William. For you, this was intelligent. I'm kidding.
Thank you.
Kidding. I love you.
I do try.
It's interesting that you said that, because it's interesting that in the book of Mark, the earliest gospel, it's 16 chapters. The first 8 chapters, actually, nobody knows who he is. Mm-hmm. Nobody has any clue. That's the whole point of it. Like, who is he? So forget it. That's all. All of that is not. And the fact that there are multiple religions and thousands of denominations, it all means it's not him. When the true Mashiach comes, everyone will know, and no one will have that question. If there's a question, it means it's not him. Everyone will know. And my friends, I can't tell you, I hear voices, but I can tell you this. We're close. Time is not far away. We're already in this messianic process, and the world is more sensitive now than ever in history. Events have occurred that are unprecedented in history. I'm talking about this virus. You all know what I'm talking about. And we have to prepare for this moment now. Thank you for your question.